keynote speaker, and Dr. Krishnamurthy will be able to introduce you later. I also welcome Professor Chris Ku. Am I able to hear you? Professor Chris Ku. Hello, Professor Chris. Hello, Professor Chris.
Sir, our idare, but I is unable to.
Okay, I welcome him to this particular program. I hand over the mic to Professor Krishnamurthy M to introduce the honorable guest, the speaker, as well as the keynote speaker, Professor Krishnamurthy.
Good morning to everyone from Karnataka State Library Association. Friends, today we have a international series. The title of the series is New Direction for Library and Information Science, Service and Education. Actually, I was going through an article in the research record. There was an article titled written by Gerald W. Lundgren, the editor of the column. The title is New Direction for Library and Information Science Education. It was a very interesting article for the academician. Approximately 1 year ago, the Research Center Inc. was awarded a contract to identify, describe, and validate both current and future competency requirements of information professional. Actually, the project is concerned with information professionals working in a variety of different environments, including libraries, information centers, and the clearing houses, database producers, database distributors, museums, archives, information analysis centers, brokers, jobbers, like that, etc., etc. But one particular aspect of the project is to identify the newly emerging analysis centers. One particular aspect is working environment within which information professionals are found. For example, we have identified a trend largely in scientific and technically information settings for information professionals performing traditional reference type function to be distributed throughout the organization as members of scientific or technical project groups rather than to be affiliated with a central library or information service. Like that, this project has identified what are the problems in the LIS education and the services, what are the new directions as given. And they have come out with 540 pages and they have submitted the report to the Library of Congress and ALIS, American Library Information Society, like that. So with this background, Karnataka Library Association also have chosen this topic. In this context, we have chosen a topic, a new direction for library and information science education. On behalf of Kala, I welcome Professor T.D. Kempra sir and Chris Ku. And now I would like to, today's keynote speaker is Professor T.D. Kempra sir. I think there is no introduction is required, but still as an international audience, they wanted to know about some of the key features of Professor T.D. Kempraju sir. Professor Kempraju sir, he obtained MLAC from Mysore University and PhD from Bangalore University. He has 35 years of teaching experience and his area of specialization is information system, services, and human resource development information service. And he has published more than 50 articles in national and international journals and has guided 4 PhDs and 6 PhDs on progress. Presently is a Bangalore North University Vice Chancellor and served as a former Registrar of Mangalore University and Director of Correspondence and Distance Education, Bangalore University, former Director of Planning, Monitor and Evaluation. Like that, it goes on 20-30 pages. So with this short introduction, now I invite Professor Kempraju sir to deliver a keynote address. Over to Professor Kempraj.
Okay, thank you, Krishnamurthy.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning to all of my LIS fraternity friends. Professor Asundi,
Do you have a PPT, sir?
extreme power. Dr. Krishnamurthy, Professor Asundi, Professor Christopher, our good colleague Dr. Meera, and other learned LIS professional colleagues representing different states as well as from other countries also. At the outset, I congratulate the office bearers of the Kala for initiating this kind of very meaningful webinar programs. As I mentioned, this series, and I hope that such kind of active programs will going to be continued in the days to come, and Kala will be always to carry the spirit of life and information service profession, and also to resolve many of the issues. So friends, the webinar programs are very popularly going on across the world. In every profession, though there is a lack of opportunity to physically meet and discuss many of the vital issues in every profession, meeting virtually, exchanging their views, exchanging their ideas, and also gaining a lot of professional advantage of what's happening. So friends, we all of us know that we are living in the crisis. COVID-19 or Corona pandemic has created a new shock, not only to India, but the whole world. I recollect the day when I was a student, our teachers used to tell me a future shock. But I could not able to complete the whole book, but I could able to read a part of the book. And and during that time as a student, I was finding difficulties what really the shock. We never experienced any kind of a shocks. 1981. Now we have experienced what is the type of shocks will be there. And it is a time of a shock, time of crisis. As a result of COVID-19, in the last 5 months, and many countries across the world in the last 6 to 8 months, they have terribly by the impact of COVID-19. One way, the societal life has all professional programs and activities has totally stopped. We have all experienced. But slowly, many of the countries could able to recover from the shock of COVID. India too successfully able to combat with COVID. We have to congratulate our governments, the national government as well as the respective state governments for their to combat with COVID-19, and also the people participation in response to the government call or government directions to take care about COVID-19. So like that, the impact of COVID-19 is really a great, and also the library and information service profession is not an exception. Because any sector for their progress and prosperity, they have to require the support of the government or the management. More importantly, economic support. Like that, library and information profession also requires the support of the government to strengthen the library resources, collections, also to meet the ever-growing changes, aspirations, needs, demands of our users. On the other side, we have to bring in a kind of a cultural change in our library environment not only through physical assets or virtual assets, through our delivery mechanism, treating our users within the library or remotely. All these kind of an issues has posed a serious problem for our librarians. And I know that every librarian nowadays thinking how to carry forward our mission in the coming days under this crisis environment. I just mentioned the economic crisis, only one crisis. But coming days we have to face other type of a crisis, technical crisis also, environmental crisis. And we, the libraries, were so much influenced by the other forces. But societal structure has been enormously. Societies always used to advocate that it's a quality consciousness society. Everyone wants quality. And also our library has to provide customers, whether it is students or researchers or general public or any. And secondly, today's society is a technology driven society. Technology has penetrated every part of human life. We have reached a situation that we can't live without the support of technology. So COVID-19, I must one way thankful to COVID-19, it has created a lot of think on this line. LIS profession that is called information intensive society. The growth and dependency of information is growing much among the users, and also in India, the economy is also based on information. The libraries are also part of that. These are some of the societal characters what we have seen. There are also vibrant changes which are happening in the last 10 years. Library and information profession also. Technology is a striking force. The current changes. Technology is going to become a much more striking force in the future changes also. However, libraries they are successfully adopting all the ICTs in library and information services. Many of the scientific studies have shown that the users, particularly younger generation users, our demography of India shows that by 2025, nearly about 58% of the Indian population belongs to an age group of 18 to 28 years. So the larger percentage of library users in the coming days will be the younger generation users. They're actually the very unique population. It has been shown that their learning and such other activities is strongly influenced by the digital world. Hence, their learning process and methodology is different. Accordingly, their approach to use library, accordingly, their expectations from the libraries are different. The future users are more of technology, digital savvy, and more aggressive. As I mentioned, their expectations are instant, no patience to wait. Instant feedback. And another growing trend is that low-level interest in using the increase in use of library through technology. They want to enter into the physical travel, organize the physical use. Users, to some extent, the faculty, even though the web in support of the next generation services has to take care of support access and creation of information. We have to provide group spaces in our libraries. Also, periodically, we have to plan to offer user development, user training programs, and information literacy effectiveness, effective market services to all group of potential users. And more importantly, we have to integrate the physical spaces and services. Community building is also another important aspect. And as a result of these kinds of situations happening in the environment of users, and we the librarians in the coming days, definitely it is very difficult to expect a good funding support for libraries, and the government will be different. More from the library. Our responsibility enhance the role of libraries, resources at no cost of time and no cost of opportunity. These are all the very vital issues for us. Hence, there is a need to and this how to face these kind of challenges. What are the directions are available? What are the positive directions? The future challenges and opportunities are quite open, visible also to us. Google has put a great challenge for the existence of libraries. This globalism and technology is beneficial for promoting these libraries. Google on the other side is a threat for library use. Every libraries, their credibility, their performance and activities is so much influenced by the Google. So the libraries and librarians have to explore pragmatic ways, introduce emerging new smart technologies, innovative methods, meet the users' needs through its services as well as the facilities. On the other side, a changing shift from print to digital media, the emergence of new forms of resources, particularly the digital content, adaptation and utilization of new services to meet the existing and future needs of our users. So the ascent on increase in interest in the use of digital document and resources, apart from the advantages of digital technology, the new directions in which we have to explore, and the role of along with the emergence of manifold challenges. When I mention the word change, on the other side, there are also opportunities. So, predict and appropriate strategies we have to devise are effective technologies and also prioritize ourselves. Strategies acquired through our funding, explore the avenues of resources, platforms for multi-layered and multifaceted information. And if users want to use the library through their social media, effective utilization of social media for information services. In academic sectors, and is about the promotion and use of massive open online courses, optimum utilization of open source software, days, we will spend more and more on this. And capacity building for library and information professionals as per the changing situation of our library and information service profession. So like that today, wider debate is going on. So how we are supposed to move in the coming days? Like I mentioned, we library information service also we have our own purpose. We have our own vision. We have our own mission. But we have to continue forward under this time of this crisis. Hence, it is very essential to take note of all these things. But 30 days is definitely a very hard days, challenging days, critical days for all professions. And many of the experts have reported that country has already went backward 5 years in all sectors, socially, economically, culturally, educationally, significantly, back 5 years. And in this competitive environment, where our focus is on meeting our user expectations at the time of crisis, will we, our whole economic, social, political, trade, business, must be a normal situation. The library is going to have a greater challenges. And there is also a greater opportunities. We are all listening from our national leaders, particularly in the field of education. There is a new trend, a new wave has emerged. E-learning process is becoming a momentum. And in the days to come, where the academic libraries and also the public libraries, where they have to have a very supporting role for academic environment, the responsibilities has been going to increase a lot. We have to transform India into the knowledge society. The libraries too have the responsibility and role to play in the transformation. Academic and other type of libraries are required to redesign their programs. We have to redevelop our procedures. We have to develop new tools and techniques in various library works and services. And we are all confident that the technologies in the coming days will going to bring out a lot of dividends, advantages to carry forward our library works and services in a more effective way. The emergence of smarter technologies, new format of information resources, intensive use of digital resources, innovative technologies and its use to provide access provision are the most compelling factors and challenges for our library profession. LIS professionals have to upgrade their knowledge, their skill base. It is a continuous process. I am not telling that for tomorrow we have to upgrade. Upgradation of knowledge, upgradation of our competencies, our skills, our positive attitude, leadership quality, analytical thinking, problem solving ability. These are all the continuous. Every time we have to upgrade and also learn and also develop a new skill base in addition to developing information literacy skills. So dear colleagues, changes, challenges, and opportunities will always be there. It is not only this crisis. This crisis is a different kind of a crisis, but since early days, in the last 20 years, 3 decades, 4 decades, we have come across a different type of low-level crisis. But today's crisis environment is totally different. So changes, challenges, opportunities will remain to stay, but libraries must change. Libraries must change to perform, change to travel for a. So like that, a number of opportunities, challenges. We have to devise our action plan for our libraries. not advice for our library fraternities that we have to reposition ourselves in the, we have to redefine our role once again under the crisis environment. And also the library is definitely going through a social infrastructure as well as the diversification of services. Added to all these things, definitely there's a high scope for expanding and promoting the use of library resources by redesigning our programs and as well as the activities. So I hope that our librarians will have a great challenges to convince your administration, your authorities. And also the library associations also play a very important role in bringing to the notice of the concerned governments for supporting our libraries at the time of this crisis. And so all these things, the library and information science education, as the title says, the new direction for library services, library work, and also education. Understand that is the LIS education. Our library LIS education sector, we all discussed yesterday in the Chancellor's conclave and the vital issues has been cropped up. And schools, once again, have to play a different role to respond to the market needs of. Still, the debate is going on. And what the market is expecting. And we have to take note of the market needs, the knowledge, the skill sets, the abilities, competencies, and accordingly we have to reshape the programs, strengthen our curriculum, teaching pedagogy, and also to develop other set of skills such as the communication skills, analytical abilities, etc. These are all the vital issues where LIS education has to take a note of changing scenario of our library information profession. So I don't want to take much more time because Christopher is waiting to about the what should be the future to carry forward. And one thing is clear that future days, no doubt, brighter days, equally challenging days. For all these kinds of challenges through our progressive thinking and also through our proactive role in developing our profession in this right direction. I once again thankful to the organizers of Kala, and I hope that you're going to enjoy a lot from Christopher and carry out a lot of messages for your working stations and implement, and let us see the brighter days of Indian library. Thank you very much, Asundi, Krishnamurthy, Meera, for everybody.
Thank you, sir. Hello, friends. Hello, can you hear me? Okay. The next speaker is Chris Koo. Chris Koo is an associate professor in the V. Kim V. School of Communication and Information Division of Information Studies at the Nanyang Technological University, Singapore, where he teaches courses in knowledge organization, information architecture, data mining, and web-based information system. He obtained his PhD at Syracuse University in 1997, his MSc in Library and Information Science at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign in 1987, and the BA, Bachelor of Arts from Harvard University. He has also worked for several years as a science reference librarian, cataloger, and online information searcher at the National University of Singapore Library. His main research interests are knowledge organization, ontology, automatic sentiment categorization, human categorization behavior, natural language processing, information extraction, multi-document summarization, and clinical decision support system. And has done a lot of projects, namely argument and information structures in research paper, evidence-based teaching, literature review writing, modeling clinical interaction with a clinical direction support system for wound management and early recognition of decision of system. And he has published many articles in the reputed journals how users organize electronic files on their workstation, personally information behavior in the information research, and the potential prospect of taxonomies like that. And last year, I met in Taipei in one of the international conference, actually, when I last week and I called him, Sir, Kala would like to invite you. Immediately is accepted. And on behalf of Kala and on behalf of our Karnataka and Indian library profession, I welcome Professor Ku to deliver a lecture. Over to Chris Ku.
Thank you very much, Dr. Krishnamurthy. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, go ahead.
Okay, good. Yeah. So I want to thank Dr. Krishnamurthy and also Kala officers, your organizing committee for inviting me. This is a topic that's close to my heart, and I think it's close to all our hearts, right? We are seeking new directions for the field, for our libraries, and for library education. I also want to thank Vice Chancellor Kemparaj for his advice to us and his encouragement. Now, I was afraid that the internet connection and the audio may not be very good. So last night, I did a video a recording of my talk so that Dr. Krishnamurthy can play the video rather than from Singapore. Okay, so if you don't mind, I'll ask Dr. Asundi or Dr. Krishnamurthy to play the video recording. And then after that, we can have, maybe some fruitful interaction and dialogue.
Okay, Professor. Okay, we'll do that. Thank you.
Sound ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ಕೃಷ್ಣಮೂರ್ತಿ ಆಡಿಯೋ ಚೆಕ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ ಹೇಳಿ. ಅನ್ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ. ಕೃಷ್ಣಮೂರ್ತಿ ಆಡಿಯೋ ಚೆಕ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ ಹೇಳಿ.
ಹಲೋ ಹೇಳ್ರಿ.
ಸರ್ ನೀವು ಶೇರ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಸರ್, ನೋಡೋಣ. ನೀವು ಶೇರ್ ಮಾಡಿ.
ಮಾಡ್ತೇನೆ.
Users don't appreciate what we do. We know many things, but always seem to be playing catch up. We are never ahead of the curve.
1 minute.
This role is under threat from the World Wide Web. Most people are now going to the website.
Now it is shared. Hello, ready?
Google,
Ready?
to look for information rather than going
Ready?
to
Sir, sound is playing, sir. Sound is playing,
Okay,
sir.
now playing. Okay, ನಾನು ಶೇರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೇನೆ ಈಗ.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
ಈಗ ಇನ್ನ ಹಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡಿ. Okay, restart from the beginning. Ready?
Talk is similar to
Ready?
note speech that I gave.
Ready?
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Restart from the beginning. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Now
Okay,
you can
sir.
restart.
Okay, sir.
We're not at the conference.
Sir, sound is
I'm
playing,
glad
sir.
to
Sound
have
is
this
playing, sir. Now
opportunity
playing. Okay,
to get feedback from
Okay,
you.
okay. Now it's fine. Now it is going on.
Okay.
That Karnataka has a long, rich history and culture, and I believe that you must have a well-developed library system. Now, before I begin, allow me to give you a short introduction to my school. This slide has the two pictures of the front of my school, and the school is called Wee Kim Wee School of Communication and Information. Wee Kim Wee was the former president of Singapore, who was a journalist profession. So this school has a mass communication.
ಅದೇ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಅನ್ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಳಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಈಗ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ನಾನು ಅನ್ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಓಕೆ.
Only graduate level courses, MSc in Information Studies, MSc in Knowledge Management, and MSc in Information Systems. The undergraduate program is only for Communication Studies. Currently, I teach in the Knowledge Management program, which is training information professionals to work in the private sector, to work in corporate environments. But I also teach in a communication studies undergraduate program. So you can see that this school is multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary. Okay, so new directions for LIS. We can all agree that libraries, librarians, and LIS schools are all at the crossroads. We have to chart new directions for our profession. In our current environment, we are bombarded by these buzzwords and trends. We have big data, we have ubiquitous computing, Internet of Things, AI, open access, Web 4.0, Fourth Industrial Revolution, blockchain, smart city and smart nation, and others. And in the past a few months, we also have COVID-19. So the question is, are libraries relevant to all these trends? Are librarians participating or even playing a leading role in any of these initiatives? Is any library participating in the COVID-19 fight? So we have to ask these questions, whether libraries and librarians are relevant to all these major developments in industry. I can see two things that libraries are participating in. I know that libraries are working with big data. Okay, maybe not all of big data, but certainly they are applying data analytics to our library data. Many academic libraries have embarked on data management and building data repositories. Okay, so I think we are doing some things in the area of big data. In the area of open access, I think librarians are doing very well. I think we are champions of open access. Okay. Now, for the others, I think we are. I don't think we are doing much. Okay, in these other areas. So we scored 2 out of 10, so 20%. So is that good enough? I think that libraries and librarians are under threat from many directions. We do many things. Some people think that we do too many things. Okay? We are stretched very thin. We are, we are scrambling, trying to participate in all sorts of new tasks and new trends. But maybe users don't appreciate what we do. We know many things, but always seem to be playing catch up. We are never ahead of the curve. We are many things, we play many roles, but users don't seem to know and don't care. So where are the threats coming from? I thought it would be useful to look at traditional functions of libraries and librarians and look at the threats that are attacking us. Okay? One traditional function, or at least a perception of libraries, is libraries as repositories of books and information. Okay, we know that this role is under threat from the World Wide Web. Most people are now going to the websites, to Google Books, to look for information rather than going to the friendly librarian. They search for books in Google Books because it has full text indexing. You can search for words in these books, whereas you cannot do it in the library catalog. Another threat to the idea of libraries as repositories is open access and related terms like open source, open courseware. Okay, in this area, I think librarians are doing well. We are championing open access. Libraries are developing open access institutional repositories, especially in the university libraries. University libraries are also acting as open access publishers, publishing open access journals and so on. The next traditional function of a library would be the library catalog system and the effort of cataloging to create library records. Okay, this is an area that's close to my heart because I was a librarian and I still consider myself a librarian, and I was a cataloger. Okay, so cataloging is close to my heart. But I think library catalogs are being challenged by online bookseller sites like Amazon. I think that people are looking for books in Amazon rather than in the library catalog. Because in Amazon and other bookseller sites, there are consumer reviews and ratings. There is collaborative filtering and recommender functions, which is to say that if you buy a book, Amazon will tell you that customers who bought this book also bought these other books. Or if you look at one book, Amazon will say, the other customers who were interested in this book also, were interested in these related books. So I think that users find these reviews, ratings, and social tags in Amazon to be more useful than subject headings and classification numbers. However, as a librarian, I must say that when I go to Amazon, I feel dissatisfied. I actually have trouble finding books in Amazon since I'm familiar with library catalogs. And after searching for books at Amazon, I often find myself going back to the library catalog. I would go to the Library of Congress or WorldCat, some big library catalog to search for books. In public libraries, there is a readers advisory services to give users advice on what books to borrow and what books to read. But I think that's a big challenge from social media sites. For example, Goodreads, is very good, especially for fiction books. It offers social cataloging for users, consumer reviews, and social networking. And I'm pretty impressed by the reviews that you find in Goodreads, because the reviews are done by users who have actually read the books, and they have analyzed it pretty thoughtfully. Whereas if you go to the library and get advice from the librarians have not read the book. Okay, but here you have, detailed advice from people who have read the books. In the university libraries, you have reference librarians, and you have information intermediaries and online searchers who do online searching in databases on behalf of users. But now users want to do the searching themselves, right? Using Google Scholar and accessing also digital libraries. There are also AI chatbots and intelligent agents. Of course, these are not as as intelligent as reference librarians, but they are available all the time. Oh, and then there's Wikipedia. Even librarians are using Wikipedia, to get fast facts. And I believe all of us, even academics, are looking up Wikipedia for quick information. Social media sites, especially online discussion forums and social question and answer sites, allow users to post questions and get responses from other users. Okay, and the nice thing with these social media sites is that you can get responses from experts. So why would you go and ask a reference librarian who has to look up some book? You can ask an expert immediately. And also in social media sites, you also have busybody users who will do the reference search. Who will search for information, collate them, synthesize them, and post it. Post their work in response to questions. So people are taking over the librarian's roles. The librarian's tasks. Now, all over the world, there are many conferences and seminars on the future of libraries, and directions for future libraries. In the US and Canada, some 5 years ago, there were a series of seminars on the future of libraries, and in the end, it involved 250 library managers. Ken Haycock in 2016 summarized, the outcome of these seminars. Okay? And he summarized the questions that were raised. What is the mission of the library that is unique, achievable, and contribute to the community? Because libraries now are taking on all sorts of functions, and it's like its brand is not clear anymore. And many of the tasks that are done by libraries can be done by other people and are being done by other agencies. So what is the library space? What library services are not duplicated more cheaply by others? What is the library brand? I think these three questions are related. And then the fourth one is, which organizations and communities should the library collaborate with and for what purpose? And finally, how should the culture of librarians be changed? And you notice that I've highlighted this in red because this is something that I'm personally concerned about. There is a prevailing sense that the librarian culture and mindset is, I was going to say dysfunctional, but you may be offended by that. I would say that maybe it is not so useful going forward into the future. So we need to change our way of thinking and our mindset. And actually, quite a lot of my talk here is about the mindset and thinking of librarians. IFLA also did a global survey. They asked the library associations of all the member countries to survey the members, okay, to come up with a vision for libraries. So they came up with challenges and opportunities facing libraries. And this is a summary of the 10 highlights of values of libraries and 10 opportunities. Okay. So they look reasonable. Here the number one is provide equal and free access to knowledge. Okay, good. And then supporting literacy, learning, and reading. Okay, and then I thought that these, okay, in red here is my addition, that we should include thinking, writing, and presentation. Focus on user needs. Okay, that makes sense. Digital innovation, advocacy. Okay. Opportunities, be champions of intellectual freedom, upgrading our roles in the digital age, partnering with other agencies, technological changes. Okay, so these are, I think, what one would expect. Okay, they make sense. Okay, here there are a few that address the culture side, okay, of libraries and librarians. It says here, be less bureaucratic, be less inflexible and resistant to change, be proactive and open to innovation. Okay, this is a comment from librarians, okay, not just me. And then it says here, overcome passive mindset and embrace innovation and change. Okay? And then I added this myself, maybe comfort with uncertainty and ambiguity. Okay, so these are top 10 and highlights and top 10 opportunities. So IFLA also, to continue this work, launched a global vision idea store. They were inviting ideas for the future of libraries from librarians all over the world. So I looked at this a few days ago. I think they have done a marvelous job in collating all these ideas. However, when I look at these ideas, I find that the ideas are kind of broad, okay, they're not very specific, but at the same time they are not broad enough to provide a vision. There are many ideas, but no visionary statements for librarians, for libraries to pursue. JASIS, the Journal of the Association for Information Science and Technology, is planning a special issue on paradigm shift in information research. And the guest editors who are listed here did an online survey on the future of information research. The deadline for submission is in July, so you can still submit a paper to this. Okay, now for my ideas, for directions for the future. I think that the future is bright for libraries and for librarians. If we can go beyond our traditional library space, our traditional boundaries and roles. So we must go beyond what we are doing now. We have to expand our conceptions and ideas of what a librarian is, what roles librarians play, and what competencies librarians should have, and what service a library should provide, and how to provide those services. And above all, we need to change our culture and mindset. Okay, these are very general comments, right? It doesn't mean anything. So let me try to be more specific. Okay, IFLA from their survey has come up with this. Libraries and librarians should be less bureaucratic and flexible, challenge current structures and behaviors, overcome our passive mindset, and embracing innovation and change. Now, I have come up with what I call 5 paradigm shifts to our idea or our conception of libraries and librarians. First, I would say that we should focus on information content rather than the information container. Secondly, focus on information use rather than information needs. Thirdly, librarian as scholar or researcher rather than librarian as intermediary. Fourth, information linking and synthesis rather than providing information. The librarian rather than the library. Okay, so I consider these to be 5 paradigm shifts to our conception of libraries and librarians, and our conception of the kind of services that libraries should provide. Okay, let me go through each of these in more detail. Okay, this is a traditional focus of libraries. The focus on books, journals, and on documents. And even when we have digital libraries, we are focusing on documents, right? And our focus is on helping users to use these digital libraries to find relevant documents. Okay, I think this is old stuff. Okay, we should change our focus to the content of these books and documents. We should focus on the information and knowledge content of these documents rather than on the documents themselves, and help users to find information rather than books. Documents help users to find relevant information and knowledge. The next focus, the traditional focus, is on information needs. All libraries have done information needs surveys to find out what are the information needs of their users, what are the preferred information sources. Okay, so that's old stuff. I'm suggesting that let's forget about information needs, because we really can't know our users' information needs in detail, right? So when we do a survey, it's rather superficial information needs. We should instead focus on information use. Let's help our users to use information properly, to make decisions, to learn, and so on. The traditional focus is on librarian as intermediary. So the go-between the user and the knowledge or information. But an intermediary has a second class, it's not seen as a high-profile kind of role. So we should focus on librarians, or perceive librarians as scholars and researchers, okay, rather than just the intermediary or go-between. Academic librarians need to be researchers and teachers themselves. One good model to follow in this respect is this idea of embedded library service. And the best example is in the area of evidence-based medicine. So in evidence-based medicine, clinical librarians support clinical teams in systematic searching of multiple medical databases. But not only that, they don't just do online searching, but they also appraise, they evaluate the evidence, and they help to synthesize the evidence. They support systematic reviews. So this is, I think, a good model to follow. Another model which is related is the idea of informationist or blended librarian. An informationist is a librarian that combines two areas of expertise. So library science plus something else, maybe medicine or science. A blended librarian has multiple skill sets and can be playing multiple roles. So I think this is like a new breed of librarian, right? You know, and this kind of librarian needs a lot of training and a lot of experience, and should be paid a lot too. Okay, another traditional conceptual focus is information and document provision. Okay, of course, libraries always have to provide information and documents to users, but I suggest that we should add to that to also focus on information linking, and knowledge synthesis, synthesizing information. And this is related, I think, to information use, because when you're using information, you need to link it and relate it to other pieces of information. So there's information integration involved. Okay? You have to relate information to the task or a problem. Information linking and synthesis is also found in learning, writing, problem solving. Okay? So academic librarians can help students in doing this, and even help faculty in doing this, helping them to use information and link information and synthesize into what I say here, a coherent knowledge structure, which means learning something, or writing something, okay, that involves synthesizing information into a coherent knowledge structure. There is a traditional focus on libraries. Okay? I know that when I attend an international conference, at the end of or after the conference, there will be library tours, to visit various libraries. I must tell you that I always skip all these libraries. I tell my friends, every library is the same. Right? Okay, of course I'm joking. But I think there should be a change in emphasis to librarians rather than the libraries. Okay? But I already see this trend because many libraries actually highlight the expertise of their librarians. Okay, I want to combine all these ideas, okay, into a statement of mission for the libraries. So this is my proposed new mission for libraries and librarians, which is linking data, ideas, people and tools to support learning and co-creation of knowledge. So there are two parts. The first part is linking data, ideas, people and tools, and the second part is the purpose of doing that, to support learning and creation of knowledge. So in terms of linking data, ideas and people, we are familiar with many of these technologies already. For linking data, we have linked data technologies, we have big data technologies. For semantic knowledge, we have the semantic web or ontologies. And then we have linking documents. Okay, we have hyperlinks in the World Wide Web. We also have recommender applications in Amazon. For linking people, we have social media and social networking and so on. Okay? So we are already making use of these technologies, and of course we should improve our expertise in these. But above that, we should also be looking at linking these different types of things. We should link data to, if we link up data, we can form new knowledge. Okay, so there will be like the ontology or semantic web. We should link data to documents, data to people, right? So there's linking among, across all these different categories of entities. We have to do integration, synthesis, networking, summarizing. So those are part of linking. And then we do these to support user learning and knowledge creation. And we are familiar with, or we are exploring some of these technologies already. I know that librarians are exploring visualization tools, text summarization tools. So these are for exploratory learning. And then there are research and analytic tools like data mining, text mining, social network analysis. And we have knowledge organization and synthesis tools like creating ontology, metadata, social tagging, and so on. So we are already, exploring these tools, and over the next few years, we need to gain expertise, so that we can fulfill, this new mission of libraries that I'm proposing to support user learning and knowledge creation. So what are the implications for LIS education? I think that library schools need to lead the way. Libraries and librarians by themselves cannot, embark on these new directions and be successful. We need guidance and research from library schools, and also continuing education and training. So LIS schools, I believe, should develop new directions for libraries and librarians, okay, and lead the change. When we develop these new directions, of course, it shouldn't be something that's totally new. It should be like a natural extension of traditional expertise. Okay, so I myself, as a faculty of a library school, I'm very mindful of this, and there are 3 types of new services that I'm trying to develop now for my students. Okay? I realize that my students and former students need guidance in terms of developing new services that they are not doing now. So the first area is, I used to be an information retrieval researcher, okay? But now my focus is on text mining, because I'm focusing on the content of the documents. But we do have a course in text mining, but text mining is a very broad area. Okay? So if I offer a course in text mining, I have to teach students all sorts of things, and at the end of the course, they still don't know what to do to help the library or the organization they are working in. So I'm focusing on these 2 aspects of text mining. One is information extraction from documents, and the second one is sentiment analysis of text, especially social media posts. Okay? So I'm developing these 2 methodologies to teach my students, so that when they go to whatever organization is, they can tell their boss, okay, we should do it this way. Okay, we should extract information from documents, because I know that many organizations have amassed big enterprise portals or institutional repositories with lots of documents, lots of reports, but reports are just sitting there. Nobody is pulling out lessons from previous projects or previous reports. They don't know how to search for it. So by doing text mining, especially information extraction, we want to pull out the good stuff from these institutional repositories. Okay, in the area of information literacy and scholarly communication, I'm developing some tools to help librarians to go beyond just teaching citation formatting and online database searching. Okay, so I think librarians should go on to teach students how to do literature review writing, how to make use of information in the cited papers in the literature review or in the academic report. Now I know that in the area of academic writing, most universities already have an academic writing department, or a linguistics or language, department to teach academic writing. But I think that librarians can also do it, can also approach academic writing, but more from an information use perspective rather than from a language or linguistics kind of perspective. Now, a third area that I'm working on is developing research interfaces to repositories and portals. And this is related to knowledge organization. And I teach this actually in my knowledge organization class. Okay, what I do is I focus now on ontology, and of course I have to include metadata and RDF and so on. Okay, but my focus is on ontology construction. But then how to make use of ontology. So I teach them about knowledge graphs and graph database and using a visualization tool. Okay, so I have to teach them how to apply ontology, okay, to all the way to designing the interface so that users can make good use of these ontologies and knowledge graphs. Okay, so these are three types of services that I'm working on right now, and I hope to have something concrete by the end of the year. Okay, as example of these three types of services, this project is a text mining project that's a collaboration with the Singapore State Courts. Okay? So in the state courts, they have lots of documents, of course, and one type of document is the charge sheets, the police charge sheets. So when somebody is arrested, the police have to make out a charge sheet, okay, to accuse them of one crime or another. Okay? So as a start, as a first collaborative project, we focus on charge sheets involving theft, stealing of things, but also including embezzlement, And what I'm doing here is, or what I did here is to develop information extraction method to extract pieces of information from these charge sheets. So this is an example of a charge sheet, and I'm sorry, it's quite blurred. It's not easy to read. What the text here says is that you are charged on the 19 November at about 12 p.m. at Victoria Street at Cold Storage, which is a well-known supermarket chain. You committed theft of the following items: one bag of Lavazza coffee powder, valued at I think it's $36, and then another bag of, okay, you get the idea. So from this kind of chart sheet, I wrote a Python program to extract information to fill in a template like this. So the organization is Cold Storage. Okay, so this is the venue where the theft occurred. The victim's name is this, the date of incident is this. The item that was stolen is Lavazza coffee powder, okay, and there were 2 items stolen, and these are the values, okay, and so on. So this is information extraction. Of course, this document is quite short and quite simple, okay, and the information extraction method that I developed has to be applicable to a bigger, and longer documents as well. So I'm working on it right now. Now, based on this extracted information, we can do various things with it. Okay, for example, I had a student who developed this visualization a tool to indicate where the crimes are being committed. So where are the thefts, happening, okay, on the map. Another application is to relate these information to the sentences, and in this particular example, we are relating things like the total amount stolen to the jail term, how many years, the accused was imprisoned, okay? And the number of unique items. So in the end, I found that if you multiply the total amount involved in the theft and the number of items, then this value will have a correlation of 0.61 with the jail term, how long the jail term is. Is it 1 week, 1 month, or 1 year? So this is not bad. Okay, this is quite a high correlation. Okay, the second kind of service that I'm developing is focus on ontologies, right? Okay, the background to this is that current AI, artificial intelligence applications, are data-driven. Okay? But AI researchers know that the future is in combining data-driven AI with semantic AI, meaning ontologies. They know that already because some of these researchers have approached me, to collaborate with them to develop, to explore how ontologies can improve AI performance. So ontology is needed to support symbolic or semantic AI, AI that can do reasoning, that can, that makes use of, that can process meaning. Okay? Ontologies are also needed in IoT, Internet of Things, to organize all these gadgets, that are on the internet. And certainly ontologies are needed in digital humanities. Okay? And I think librarians all over the world are already collaborating with humanities researchers in this area of digital humanities. I had a PhD student who just graduated last year. She developed an ontology to support reuse of data, or rather data sets in the data repository. Okay? So she found that researchers have difficulty understanding data sets in the repository, so therefore they don't use them. So how do you develop an ontology and visualization method to help researchers to make sense of data sets in the data repository? So she made use of Neo4j, a graph database, to store this ontology, and a graphical visualization tool. She used Cytoscape, although now I'm moving towards a new product called Keylines. And this is an example of a graphical visualization of a data set. So these are variables in the data set. Okay, and this HP is hypothesis in the research, where the data set was used. And in this diagram, you see that there's graphical visualization here, but there's also text explaining all these variables in the data set. I think these are questionnaire items, from which the data came from. And then you can see an overview of all the data that's available. So this kind of graphical visualization is not easy to design, You can see that it's right now it's still not very usable. Okay? So I think there's scope for librarians here to design and develop these visualizations to help users to make sense of what is in the digital library or in the data repository. Okay, so the third type of service that I'm developing is an information literacy and scholarly communication. So I say that we need to strengthen teaching and research expertise and teach literature review writing and academic writing. Okay? We need to teach our students in the university library how to analyze, evaluate, integrate, and use information effectively in their writing. Okay? But if you're working in a corporate organization, you have to teach users to use information in decision making and knowledge creation. Okay, and my latest PhD student who just graduated analyzed academic writings, or rather research articles, to model the argument and information structure in the research paper. So the argument structure and the information structure. So first she analyzed the arguments as an argument claim with a supporting argument. Okay? And then link all the argument claims and supporting arguments into an argument structure. We used 27 types of argument claims, like there is a research gap, there's a good research objective, there is a research result. Okay, so we consider these to be argument claims. And then we look for argument patterns in these research papers. Then she went on to analyze the information structure. What are the types of information found in these research papers? And how are they related to the arguments? How do arguments make use of information, different types of information? Okay? So relationship between information structure and arguments, okay, that researchers are making in the research article. So I think this is a different perspective of academic writing than from a linguistic perspective. This is, I think, more a librarian perspective. Okay? So we can have a new way of teaching academic writing. So of course we make use of ontology, okay, to model these information patterns. Okay. So you can see what I'm doing is I'm applying library concepts and technology to other areas. You know, we cannot just wait for other people to take over, to encroach in our area. We should go forth, you know, and apply library and information science theories and concepts to other areas, other fields. Okay.
So
I think
thank
I've
you, Professor Wu. Okay, thank you, Professor Krishna. Thank you,
Thank
Professor.
you for listening. Yes.
Are you listening to me?
Yes, I can hear
Professor
you.
Wu?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay, there is only one small clarification. Okay, you mentioned about modeling arguments, but doesn't you mean the modeling the queries? Queries and arguments are different. Do you mean to say that?
Sorry,
Queries and the
I lost
argument.
the audio. Yeah, could you repeat your question because I lost half of it.
No, can you differentiate between the argument and the query?
And the query. Okay, here
Yeah, query and
since
arguments are synonymous or different.
you're talking about search query.
You just mentioned about modeling arguments. One of the
Mhm.
student is doing modeling arguments. Okay, I think equivalent to the queries, modeling queries.
Okay, by queries, I don't quite understand what you mean. Do you mean queries that you
Yeah.
search in a database, or do you mean research
Yeah,
questions?
correct. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
right.
correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm not interested in queries. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
to me that is old stuff, right? So I'm saying that we should focus.
Okay.
Yeah, of course, I know queries. Okay, I would say that I've given up teaching people how to search the database. They don't want to do that, right? They cannot be bothered. So yes, librarians still have to do it, but most of the time users are searching themselves. You know, they are not getting the help of librarians. So queries is not an issue. You know, they don't care about it, right?
Okay.
But what I'm trying to do is to teach once they download these now, because there's so much information out there, right? In the
Okay.
past, documents are hard to find. Okay, so you need to have very careful queries. Okay, but now you know there's too much information, so researchers are not so careful in getting a comprehensive search now because there's too much.
Okay.
So my focus is on once you get the relevant document, what information do you take out, you know, from these, you know, papers that you have downloaded and use in your literature review.
Okay.
So I have a former student, and I didn't mention it in my talk, who analyzed how researchers make use of these downloaded, the cited papers. What information do they extract or make use of from these cited papers? Okay.
Yeah, I got
So for
it.
example, yeah,
I got it.
right.
Really, I got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Now, another question is that in addition to the information literacy, okay, a lot of new literacies are being studied, like media literacy, health literacy, and so on and so forth. Can the library professionals would also to encroach upon these new literacies and expand their professional job opportunities to other areas?
Yes, I do think that these various kinds of literacies are important to us. Yeah, I would say that, yeah, we should, explore all these kinds of literacies. But of course, one librarian cannot do it all, right? You need to have one person, you know, maybe focusing on information literacy.
My view is
And
that
media
we can
literacy,
expand
and
our
then,
job opportunities
you
to
know,
other areas.
yeah,
For example,
health
supposing you have a media literacy, for example, in India, we have what is called as the Department of Information and Broadcasting, where the student with a media literacy can get an employment, better employment in those areas rather than going to the library. That is what is my argument is about media literacy.
Yeah. I think, yeah. Okay, of course, in media literacy, we are competing with communication professionals.
Yeah,
okay?
correct.
So I'm aware of that because in my school, we have information faculty, doing media literacy, and we also have communication faculty doing media literacy. So I think it's fine, both sides are okay. But of course, the information professionals will look at media literacy from a different perspective. And so, yeah, I do agree that we should develop our perspective, maybe focusing more on the information side rather than on the communication side. Okay?
Probably you may be aware of the post-truth, that is the fake news, where the analysis of the fake news can be done by the media literacy people.
In my school, there is a research group that is researching media literacy, and it's a multidisciplinary group. Okay, so I would say that we need both people, because the communication professionals have a very different perspective. They use different theories. Okay? Whereas we look at more the information, okay, the false, whereas they look at more the motivations, whether it's convincing or not, they look at psychological factors, So we need both sides to work
That's
together.
correct. I would say that the communication people would look into a lot of investigative approach, whereas the information professor look for the information, what you can say, the authenticity of information, whereas the media people look for the investigative approach to any of this media. That is what my perception is.
Yeah, certainly they look at it from a different perspective.
Angle. They look at the different angle.
Yeah, and some media professionals may not see information as whether it's truthful or not, because a lot of times it depends on the subtext, the agenda behind what you say,
Definitely.
Yeah. So different.
For example, now the COVID-19 is coming up, and we hear a lot of controversial views by the different media and different channels of broadcasting and like that. And I get some kind of idea that they have a totally a kind of a biased view towards either one group or one government, whereas informative profession may not look at that kind of perspective. That is what is my argument.
Okay, any questions from audience? Any questions from audience, please raise your hand. Any questions? I think there is a question from Islam Sharif from Bangladesh.
Oh, my friend. Okay.
Yes. Sharif, Subhas Reddy, can you please connect to Mr. Sharif, Dr. Sharif?
Yes, sir. So he has to unmute. He has to unmute, sir, himself.
Yeah. Dr. Sharif. Professor Ku, there is a question from Islam Sharif. What are the roles of blended librarians?
Okay, I cannot answer that because this is a question that each blended librarian has to decide, because the idea of blended librarian is quite new, so it is not something that, and to be a blended librarian, you need to have the right personality, right? You need to be sociable, be able to collaborate with people, and you need a range of skills, a different mindset. So I would say that a blended librarian should be, the kind of blended librarian you want to be. You have to decide yourself, and then you go and persuade your library director or your chief librarian that this is a good service to do. So I would say that blended library, a lot depends on the individual librarian. So that's why I say focus on the librarian, okay, not the library, because the personality and skills of the librarian is important here.
Okay.
Krishnamurthy, on chance alla?
Yes, sir, please. Yes.
My point is just how the libraries in Singapore have participated in supporting the COVID-19 measures taken by the government.
I have to say that I have no idea. Most of us are just trying to adapt, right, and survive this. So I have no news from the libraries. You know, they are just trying to, they are struggling just to continue their work. Okay, because in terms of the fight in, you know, the COVID-19, the frontline workers, I would say most of them are frontline, you know, are health professionals. Okay, and the government has also enlisted various agencies to try to do some policing, you know, education. You know, they go out in the streets and tell people to wear masks, you know, or maybe even fine them. You know, they can fine people on the spot, you know, if you don't wear a mask, you know. So at this stage, I don't hear anything from the libraries. Okay, but what I do hear is the National Library has put up some free online resources to entertain the public, right? So they're making more resources available for free, okay, so that people who have to stay at home like myself, you know, can read more of the news. You know, now we can read the newspaper for free, you know, without subscribing, you know, so things like that. Okay? But for myself, I did recently put up a research proposal to do information extraction from research papers on COVID-19. You know? So we know that there's lots of research coming out. You know, there's so many papers that are pushed out every day. So the health professionals and the policymakers have a hard time keeping up with all these research findings. So I have a team, a research center in the university. We put up a project to do information extraction from all these papers, okay, about various aspects of COVID-19. So that's this is part of my the service that I'm trying to teach my students to do information extraction from documents. You know, so now we are taking advantage of this to start a project on extracting, you know, truth, you know, correct information from research papers.
Don't you think that we the librarians,
So that's my answer.
failed? We the librarians somewhere failed to rise to an occasion to give access to library resources, and all our educational programs are virtually on. So, though the colleges are closed, though the schools are closed, though the university campuses are closed physically, faculty members are involved in teaching and students who are involved in learning.
Yeah.
To support those two our stakeholders, the library side, what kind of a facilities we extended virtually. We have an opportunities. Users need not come to your libraries. Here we have to carry our library to the doorstep of the users. Somewhere, I think our libraries have totally closed, but we have not taken the alternative measures of reaching people to even access to library content.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So in this case of the COVID pandemic, I cannot blame anybody. Right? We were all caught by surprise. You know, yeah. I would tell the librarians, just stay home and be safe. You know. Yes. Okay. More than that, I'm telling the librarians that, you know, if you find that you don't have enough work now because you don't have to, you know, interact with the students, take this time to develop new services. And I think they're doing that. Okay, this is, I would say, an opportunity to take time out, you know, because I don't think they can be very useful in the COVID-19 fight. You know, leave it to the health professionals. But take this time to run this, you know, continuing professional programs like what you're doing now, right? You're taking advantage. I mean, if this wasn't COVID-19, I wouldn't agree to talk, right? And maybe Dr. Krishnamurthy wouldn't invite me, right? But now, yeah. But now because of COVID-19, we are at home. We need to be entertained. And then Dr. Krishnamurthy says, why don't you learn something rather than watching the movies, right? You know, so he is organizing this continuing education. So I think the librarians are using this time to develop, you know, new services, you know, because in the past they are scrambling, right? I mean, they have to balance current services and there are so many things to do. They have no time to think, you know, but now they have time to think. Yeah. And I know that because some of my students in the libraries, you know, so I'm giving them some advice. hey, this is the time to develop your, your visualization interface, develop your ontology to improve your data repository or something. Yeah. So I'm sure that librarians are making good use of this time so that after, maybe towards the end of COVID-19 and when the schools, universities start opening up, then I'm sure, they will have some good, new things, that they will launch. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, any questions?
No more questions.
No more. Okay, madam, vote of thanks. Thank you, Professor, for your nice talk. And now there is vote of thanks from our treasurer, Adi Lakshmi, madam. Please go ahead, madam.
Thank you. Namaste to all. We have reached the last part of our today's program. That is now vote of thanks. And I have been assigned this work as Krishnamurti just informed. Zoom has enabled Kala to organize many programs, and this has helped our library professionals very much. Zoom has enabled anyone to log into the program from different parts of the world. Updating our knowledge and adopting technology has helped the professional to serve better in the delivery of information to the information seekers in time. Thereby, we are saving the time of the clients or information seeker. We are fulfilling the fourth law of our library science by S.R. Ranganathan, who is the father of our library science. The law is, that is, save the time of the reader. Now we can say as clientele or information seekers by providing required information in time. Practicing librarians must deliver the required information to the seekers apart from our resources. Today we had very good topic to listen and interact with the eminent speakers. Professor Kosogu Christopher, long name, from Singapore, and keynote speaker Professor Kemparaju, Vice Chancellor of Bangalore. On behalf of Kala, it's my duty to thank them. Professor Christopher has given a lot of inputs to all of us. Library professionals has different role to play. Yes, explained in his 5 paradigms also, and Christopher's 3 new services and competencies, and so on. Yes, given a lot of inputs. On behalf of Kala and myself, I wholeheartedly thank Professor Christopher. Thank you very much, sir. Professor Kemparaju, sorry. Professor Kemparaju.
Thank you very much for bearing.
Thank you. Professor Kemparaju has delivered keynote address, interacted with the gathering, with the professional gatherings, and is also supporting our fellow professionals in all the activities of Kala. He was Bangalore, he was already Krishnamurti has introduced. I was a student also. I thank him wholeheartedly on behalf of Kala and myself for having made this program success. This speak, it would have not been possible if the president of Kala, Professor Asundi, and Professor Krishnamurti, Secretary of Kala, have not taken the initiative. So they are playing a very good role in organizing the programs for the benefit of library professionals. On behalf of Kala and also myself, I thank them very much.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Subhash Reddy is playing an active role in linking one and all for this program. On behalf of Kala and on myself, I thank him very much.
Thank you, madam.
Participants are going to receive their e-certificate. To do this work, Maltesian Aki has prepared the certificate very beautifully and he will be delivering it shortly. On behalf of Kala and I, thank him very much. To make this program successful, participants are very important. If no participant means this program would have been not successful. So on behalf of Kala and myself, I thank them. I once again thank one and all. I have been given this opportunity to conclude the program with vote of thanks. I also thank them, organizers. Thank you very much.
Madam, we thank you,
Thank you.
for, yeah, thank you, madam. Thank you, sir. Everyone is thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir, Professor O and Professor Kempraj, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you to Professor Ku.
Thank you very much, Dr.
Thank
Krishnamurti, Dr. Asundi.
One and all.
Thank you.
Okay, so is there a nice tea prepared for us after this seminar?
Very nice.
Online tea.
Online tea will be delivered. Online tea.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Professor.